was up in a tree stand. This big female sow come through there and with some little ones and was tromping through there. And I put a shot on it. I was probably about 12 foot off the ground, and the angle was steep enough that the arrow went clear through and stuck in the ground, and the hog ran off without the arrow, and it was a pretty good tracking job. Didn't go very far.
Welcome to Hunting Stories, brought to you by Late to the Game Outdoors. Everyone loves a good story, and hunters have some of the best. Our whole mission is to collect and share great stories from hunters just like you, to entertain and keep you motivated all year long. So, pull up a seat around the campfire, because here we go. Today on the podcast, I have Mitchell and Jeff, two of the owners of Vantage Point Archery, which is an incredible broadhead company based out of Indiana. And they tell the story of a really cool wild pig hunt on public land in Oklahoma. And then we just kind of dig into broadheads and that whole topic for a little while. There's a ton of cool information. I wanted to just keep asking them questions. It was fascinating stuff. But hopefully you enjoy the story and learn a little something about your broadhead setup. All right, Mitchell, Jeff, how are you guys doing today?
We're doing excellent. How are you doing?
Real good.
Oh, doing well. Trying to not overheat because it's May, which means it's already over 100 degrees here in Phoenix.
Yeah, Eric, I don't think we have that issue much here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So we're actually going to be experiencing some below average temperatures this time of year into the freezing temperatures, right?
Oh my gosh.
So,
freezing sounds so nice right now. I am jealous. But I guess you guys have humidity and ticks and all sorts of other stuff that I don't usually have to deal with.
Yeah. So we don't mind extending the season before all that hits in the summer. So. Oh
yeah, I can only imagine. All right. Well, you guys, you are the both owners, operators of Vantage Point Archery, correct?
Yep, correct.
Awesome. And just like for our listeners, if you want to give like a flyover or kind of origin story or whatever, like what's the company all about?
Yeah, well, I can start maybe, and then I'll have Jeff kind of jump in. But obviously, Jeff and some of the other initial business partners at the time, it was about 2008, 2009, kind of got together. And at that time, everybody was involved in a manufacturing facility. So, we were manufacturing products for all sorts of industries, whether it's medical, automotive, anything you can really think of. We have kind of the infrastructure set up already for that. And really at the beginning, Jeff and some of the main guys that started this up had a passion for the outdoors and bow hunting in particular. And, they essentially kind of put some of their heads together and, figured, hey, we could probably make some pretty cool products on the machines and, the equipment that we already have here. And so that was kind of the initial start of, hey, we have an interest in the outdoors and we have all this, equipment and machines and basically Jeff, I'll kind of kick it over to him now on kind of what his mindset was as he started to, prototype some of these things.
Yeah, kind of started out. I've been a machinist pretty much since I got out of high school and went to trade school for it and worked at various job shops and stuff. And I always liked it because you get to make things that's not out there. If something breaks on something, you can actually make it instead of trying to find it. And I've always been an outdoors guy and a hunter, and I liked archery and just decided to try to make a broadhead on our CNC machines, and it turned out really cool. And once the word got out, people seen it, and from one mouth to another, just kept growing and growing until where it is today. So
yeah, and a dozen or so countries later, we're selling product all over the world, which has just been fascinating in my opinion, just to see how one product can grow just by word of mouth, really. So
wow, that's I love the story of making something almost for yourself, like just trying to use your skills and the tools at hand to make something that works for you. And then, a buddy hears about it and wants some, and like, man, to now be sitting here, 10 years later, a little more than that, and just be a global company. That's awesome. I love that story.
Oh yeah, it's definitely humbling to see, something that was just at a very minute, small scale to where it's grown today. So very humbling.
Man, well, good for you guys. Sincerely, that's awesome. All right. Well, before I have like so many specific questions about broadheads and the gear and the stuff that you guys make specifically, but it would not be the Hunting Stories podcast if we didn't get into just a great hunting story. And I love that because I'm out here in the West. Most of my buddies are Western guys. I love to get somebody from a different part of the country who does a different kind of hunting. I mean, it's all still bow hunting, but just, how different things are. I love that variety. So if you would be so kind, share a cool hunting story from out closer to your neck of the woods.
Well, being here in Indiana, we got lots of deer running around, and that's usually the annual thing to do around here. We got some pretty good sized deer. I do a lot of hunting on public land, and even though there's still city plenty, I always shot traditional for a long time, traditionals, and using the broadheads that we're making. Like I like going with a heavier broadhead up front. I usually shoot the 250 grain 3-blade around here, and
wow.
It does the job. It usually passes on them, and I'm not so much a trophy hunter. It's nice to get a big buck once in a while, but usually going after the meat around here. And there's seems to be a good opportunity anymore that the turkeys are coming back now. That the DNR released some a few years ago, and they're really growing. They're probably getting about as popular as the deer are now. So.
Oh, cool.
I also like the small game hunting. I go after squirrels and stuff like that. So.
Do you do that with your bow?
Yeah, I did that a lot with my bow, and we use our small game heads for that. And usually it's a small target, but it's fun shooting at them.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Then as far as out of state, most memorable one, I usually don't get out of the state very often, but went to Oklahoma a few years ago on a hog hunt, and that was the first hog hunt that I ever been on, and I was up in a tree stand. This big female sow come through there and with some little ones, and was tromping through there, and I put a shot on it. I was probably about 12 foot off the ground, and the angle was steep enough that the arrow went clear through and stuck in the ground, and the hog ran off without the arrow, and it was a pretty good tracking job. Didn't go very far, and it a real big one. It weighed, I think, 130 pounds or so, but that was my first hog hunt, and I thought it was a lot of fun doing it like that. So.
Did you say 130 pounds is not a terribly big hog?
No, not. I mean, they can get up. Depends on the breed and stuff, but then around 400 or 500 pounds. But that'd be a really big one.
Oh my gosh! Sorry, I'm blown away because I'm in Arizona. The closest thing we have is javelina, which are technically like a rodent and not really a pig, but we call them pigs. And like the big ones are 40 pounds. So when you say 130 pounds, I'm picturing this gigantic creature.
It was big to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really in some of these areas out here too, we have a lot of, obviously rural communities and a lot of farm ground, and I think the size of some of these hogs that are being developed out here on the basis that they have free range to roam, and they're eating all the farmers' crops, and like Jeff mentioned, some of these are weighing in at several hundred pounds, and actually they're becoming quite a nuisance for a lot of the Midwest right now too. So
Man, so you guys are having similar issues to, like, I know Texas is just trying to wipe out hogs because they're just everywhere. That's kind of moving up more towards the Midwest too now.
Yeah, they're working their way up here.
yeah, I think especially being kind of the farming belt of the United States, I think they see it as an opportunity. And some of the more northern Midwest areas, where it gets a little bit colder, maybe not so much, but they're definitely starting to migrate from some of the warmer weather climates, like you mentioned in Texas, or kind of that Sun Belt area too. So
Wow, man. So you guys have just lots of opportunity to hunt out there, like whitetail and hogs and turkeys are coming back. And is it all? Do you guys get out multiple times every year? Like you kind of every fall, you're going to be in a tree stand hunting whitetail, or?
well, it's kind of funny you say that. Like it's kind of just a way of life for a lot of Midwest groups. So I know even with some of the northern Indiana school counties, and especially like Michigan area, they have every year a designated hunting season. So like they understand that kids will not be going into school, and they'll just take off for certain timelines through mainly in the fall. It also deals with a lot of like I mentioned, the rural, farming communities who, are all hands on deck when that season comes, and it's the harvest time too. So I'm sure that has a little bit of a role to play in some of that stuff. But yeah, typically in this, the area that we're from, majority of people that are, outdoors hunting specific, they have asked out. If anybody has weddings that they're planning, they basically have to plan around the hunting season, special events. So it is kind of a way of life, kind of a culture, and kind of probably dates back to just being able to put food on the table each fall, and have meat throughout the winter. So
Man, I love that. It is it's refreshing to my soul to hear that still exists in places in the country. Man, so cool. Thanks for sharing that. Man, a pig out of a tree stand. Is that kind of the normal way people hunt them? Or I don't know. I've never hunted
Ground or the tree stand. Hogs they have fairly poor eyesight, but you sure have a good nose, and
yeah.
they can pick you off easier than a deer can. But the ones I've seen, they sure seem to be able to see you pretty good. But I did it in the ground too. I stalked around there, and you can get fairly close, but to get within traditional bow range, 20 yards or so, it's kind of tough to do it on the ground. But it's possible. But I wouldn't want to get charged by a group of them.
Yeah, no, I'd want to be up a tree for an animal that can't climb, then has tusks, and that's the smart play. Hey guys, this is Eric from Late to the Game Outdoors and producer of Hunting Stories. I wanted to thank Bun and Beanster for making this show possible. These guys are the real deal. Whether you're a seasoned business owner or a startup or running a side hustle like I am, they can help you with your branding, logo, easy to manage websites, and fresh creative ideas for your business. They can also help you look the part by helping you design those tricky one-off events. They deliver amazing printed goods, quality apparel, even signage. Truly a one-stop creative shop, and they stand by their work guaranteed. For free consultations and useful resources, go to bunandbeanster.com to check them out, or catch them on Instagram at bunandbeanster. Now back to the show. Cool. Well, talk to me a bit, like shifting gears, talk to me a bit about your broadheads. Like, I mean, there's so many companies, so many types. So like, man, it can be super overwhelming. But what makes VPA different or unique or awesome? Like, explain it a little bit.
Yeah, well, and hopefully kind of through the story, you kind of have a little bit of an understanding, how we originated. Obviously, Jeff and some of the business partners of the manufacturing sector kind of came together, and then through just word of mouth, we've been able to expand. At one point, I think we were just doing the 3-blade series of our products, and then through the years, we've just basically have added on each year to the varieties that we carry. So right now we're close to, I think, 60 different SKUs of products.
Wow.
So we have our 2-blade series, 3-blade series. We have a turkey specific head, the small game thumpers like Jeff was mentioning. And then within each of those elements, we have products that range from 100 grain all the way up to 300 grain, which is pretty exciting. I know with a lot of, different setups that everybody has, it's kind of nice to have several different options for your broadhead that you're putting on the front of your arrow. So, and we've even kind of dealt into a new line of material. So we're now doing stainless steel material as well. So our main standard line is a carbon tool steel, and then about a year or two ago, we came out with some stainless steel varieties as well.
Wow. And what are some of the differences or pros and cons of the stainless versus the carbon steel?
About the only pro of the stainless would be that it's more corrosion resistant for people that hunt in the rain all the time or real humid weather. That's the biggest benefit of stainless. As far as the carbon steel, it usually holds a little bit better edge than stainless does, as long as you take care not to put them away in a wet quiver or anything. They hold up pretty good too. So they're just, both of them are just made to be sharpened over and over and used multiple times.
Oh man, that's
one of the biggest things.
Yeah, and so or maybe all of yours, you just kind of sharpen them on a stone like a knife, right? They're not. I know I've seen some that are like kind of rebuildable or whatever, but yours are a single piece that you just got to sharpen on a stone.
Yeah, all of our broadheads are, and that's what sets us apart from a lot of groups. So, we're definitely within the fixed blade category, and then there's several ways that different companies have manufactured fixed blade broadheads, or even mechanical for that purpose. But all of our products are a one-piece CNC precision machined head. So we basically take a big hunk of metal and machine it down to the final product that you see. Obviously, there's a lot more intricacies throughout that process. But the great thing, and what Jeff and some of the team have been able to develop and engineer over the years, is just the ease of maintenance. So being able to use a product over and over again was definitely one of the main components that we were looking to do when we produce these broadheads. And so it lays flat basically on a stone like you were mentioning, and just a couple passes on each side, and then usually a lot of our customer base will finish it off with like a leather strop as well, and you're ready to go again.
Oh man, I do love the sound of that. I've been shooting mechanicals for a few years now, and every time I let one loose, whether it's a hit or a miss or whatever, like it's done. Like it's torn up, it's bent, you just throw it away. So the thought of being able to sharpen and put it back in the quiver is, man, that seems like the way to go for sure. Yeah,
everybody's a little bit different. I mean, obviously, sometimes you get what you pay for. So, some customers or some, groups out there are just wanting something that can be a one shot and done. And, there's going to be people in that camp. And then there's others that, want a little bit sturdier product. I mean, speaking of hog hunting, we had a guy not too long ago contact us and say that he used one broadhead for 12 different hogs that he took down in Texas. So
holy cow.
Yeah.
That's a tough broadhead.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, and I assume
maybe not bomb proof, but we definitely think that it can last pretty long. So.
Oh yeah. And I would assume, Jeff, that you were shooting a VPA broadhead when you went all the way through that hog and stuck your arrow right in the ground.
Yeah, that was a 250 grain 3-blade that we made.
Man, that is I love that. I think I just got a couple packages of your 200 grain 2-blades. What there's a tagline, I'm going to mess it up now, which is embarrassing, but something about like bone crushing power or something about like bone crushing is in the name.
Oh yeah, bone breaking domination. So
that's what it is. Yes, I love that. Animals probably don't, but I love it. We were talking a bit, I think through email and a little bit before this, that like you're saying there's a big trend you're noticing. A lot of guys experimenting with a heavier front of center, maybe a heavier broadhead. As you mentioned, you guys have stuff all the way from 100 to 300 grains. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe tie in, I don't know, just some stuff guys should consider, or maybe even, I don't know, common mistakes you see guys making when they, are picking broadheads or whatever?
Well, the most important thing is to get the spine of your shaft balanced with your broadhead, whatever weight you're shooting up front, with how many pounds you're shooting, so your arrow's flying through. That's the biggest factor, is making sure your arrow's flying like a dart. You get the penetration that you want. But the concept of being heavier on the front is just like a dart that you're throwing. All the weight's pretty much up front and everything will trail behind it, so it'll fly better. So when you put that weight up front, you got a better flight and you got more momentum on your arrow to get a pass through. So that's the principle.
All right. So that's, I think for a long time, it seemed the trend in archery was like chasing speed. Like you wanted 300 whatever feet per second. And it sounds like what you're saying, the guys are starting to discover, it'd be better to sacrifice, a few feet per second to have that kinetic energy and that just true flight and all that.
It's just like a train, it might not go real fast, but it's really hard to stop. And same principle, that your arrow might not be flying 350 feet per second, but at 200 feet per second, it's going to go clear through. So, because you got all that momentum behind it, and you're going to get better flight being heavier up front and everything. It's all positive.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What do you see? Are there kind of common mistakes or stuff that you see guys do when they, other than like they don't practice with broadheads and they just screw them on at the trailhead and then have problems? But besides the obvious, what are kind of some setup mistakes you see guys making?
Usually they don't have their the whole system works together as one unit. If you got something, if your bow's out of tune, if you don't have the correct spine, if you don't have everything spinning the way it's supposed to, you're going to have issues down the road. So once you don't have everything dialed in, then your arrow's going to be fishtailing and porpoising, and you're going to lose a lot of your penetration once it hits. So that's the biggest issue. We got a lot of people that'll call in saying, how do you tune your broadheads and everything? And you pretty much got to start with the shaft and everything to get everything dialed in. So you got so many different.
Yeah, there's so many different variables that it is overwhelming at times for, even a novice or somebody that's just starting off. And so I think a lot of times, and to kind of piggyback on what Jeff was saying, as far as, even first time hunters or individuals that, bow hunting or archery in general are piquing their interest. I think a lot of times, they're not doing their homework when it comes to just understanding how everything kind of works, in cohesion with itself. And so really taking the time to be a student of the of what you're doing there, I think is a big thing. And I think too often or not, you have a higher percentage of the industry than I would like to admit to that just goes and just randomly selects different equipment because they saw it on a commercial or they saw, a marketing advertisement. And so then when they get all these components and they put them together and they're like, well, it's not even shooting where I want it to go, or, I'm getting these random groupings, or, it's failing when I get it out into the field. Well, it's because a lot of times they don't do their due diligence with, how each of the components work together. So I think education is probably one of the biggest components that we can try as, ambassadors of this industry to try to help emphasize to, not only new upcoming, customers or users of products, but, current customers and users of products as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so well said. The daunting nature, if you start, poking around forums or whatever about bow tuning and stuff, if you're new and don't know any of that, like, you just think it's rocket science. Like, I can't do what? And so either finding a good bow shop that you trust that'll talk you through stuff and make adjustments for you, or even just more and more the guys that I talk to who do a lot of their own tuning, they say, yeah, it seems intimidating, but once you start like really digging in, it all starts to make sense and how everything works together. And man, these guys just get beautiful flight, everything hitting where they want it. And yeah, I think just getting over that intimidation factor is a huge thing I try to promote a lot for new hunters or prospective hunters, where it's just so daunting. Like, I don't know. I didn't grow up doing this. I can't figure it out. Like, take a breath. The information's out there, but we have Google. Oh, yeah. Like, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. I feel like I'm so curious. I want to ask so many questions, but I know we gotta like keep time short. Is there anything that we've missed that you want to share, or also if you want to talk about? I know we talked a little bit about a promotion and just kind of a coupon code for listeners, which I'm so grateful for. But yeah, what did we miss? And if we didn't miss anything, talk about that.
Well, I want to first also say, Eric, thank you so much for having us on here. We really appreciate being able to share our story, share, some of the background of our company and kind of how we had our humble beginnings. But, the cool thing is within this industry, and this doesn't, just cover our company, but a lot of companies are continuing to bring out, new product line each year. So it's amazing to see what technology and, different, advancements, even being on a call like this today, all the different technology elements of, what makes a business tick. And so I think this past year, we really kind of had a self-reflecting year to see where we are. This past year, we actually rebranded. So we came out with a new logo. Any of your audience that obviously hears us today and wants to check out what we're doing can go to vparchery.com. So V as in Vantage, P as in Point, and then the word archery spelled out, .com. And our new branding, our new logos all on there. We're continuing to come out with different, models of products, whether it's, different grain weights, vented series, non-vented series, different material types. So we're always trying to, reinvent something a little bit newer and better use for our customer base. So we're excited about all those new changes, and obviously too, anybody that does want to check us out and actually test some of our products, we're going to give a bonus coupon here to your audience today. So at checkout on our online storefront, they can save 15%. And I think we talked about it. Hunting Stories will be the coupon code, so it'll be not case sensitive or anything like that. All one word there. And definitely feel free to check out what we have going on. And that's kind of my goal in all this, is to continue to push the envelope a little bit on some of the products that we're doing, but also help educate our customer base and the industry as a whole. I know that kind of goes back to what we were just speaking on, but I think it is important for all of us, as whether we're talking about yourself, who's doing a podcast about something that you're passionate in, and you're wanting to help educate others about what you're seeing out there, and some of your guest stories definitely help with that. But I think it's our ability to continue to push the industry as a whole is what's going to make everything better too.
Yeah. Oh, love it. And thank you so much for that hunting code, and anyone listening, I would encourage you, go check them out. I've just started delving into testing some of your products, and it is super well made. Just looks, feels solid, razor sharp. Super excited to get out in the field and start testing some of this stuff for real. Yeah, obviously I'll link everything in show notes. You guys can check their websites, order stuff. You guys are on Instagram. I see you're pretty active on there.
Yep. We're on all the social media outlets. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think we got our LinkedIn profile dialed in too for posting on a weekly basis as well. So certainly any of those platforms you can kind of check out, and we're always kind of reposting some of the media that our followers send us, or customers that have a successful hunt. That's always really gratifying to see somebody that's used your product and it's been successful in the field, and kind of hearing that success story.
Yeah, there are some great trophy shots on your Instagram. I've scrolled through it, and man, those broadheads get it done. So again, the links will all be in the show notes. But guys, check out VP. It's at VP Archery, same as your website, vparchery.com.
Yep.
Man, so cool, guys. Thank you for the time. We got to have you back sometime, and just keep educating people, keep getting the word out, and getting quality gear in their hands to help them be successful.
Yeah, we would love that. I'm sure, you could probably add a long laundry list of people to talk to on your podcast with stories after hopefully implementing some of our products. But it's been great to talk with you today, and we're always open for another opportunity to hop on, whether we want to tackle some other topics, or I know there's probably a million things that we can go over and help educate on, or even just talk about some of the other hunting stories that we have too. Yeah,
for sure. We'll set that up. Man, thanks again, guys. We'll wrap this one. Man, check out Vantage Point Archery, guys. They're the real deal, American company, quality stuff. I want to thank Mitchell and Jeff again for being on the show and giving us some time. Again, if you didn't catch it in the podcast, they've offered a special discount code just for listeners of the podcast. Simply go to their website, vparchery.com, check out their selections, put a couple things in the cart, and then use the code Hunting Stories, all one word, to get yourself 15% off. And now's the time of the year to start dialing in your broadheads and getting everything ready for the fall season. So please head over and check them out, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for tuning in to Hunting Stories. And if you want to stay up on what we're doing with the podcast or anything else going on with Late to the Game, go ahead and check us out at latetothegameoutdoors.com, or give us a follow on Instagram at latetothegameoutdoors. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.